Calling all units, calling all units. Donut Shop has a fresh dozen. Go ahead and take a 1040.
All right, welcome back to the Donut Shop podcast. I'm going to read a little bit because I wrote a nice little intro. Today, I have guest Michael Morgan, a 30-year law enforcement officer or veteran of law enforcement, spent 10 years with Atlanta PD, 10 plus, and just shy of 20 years with Suffolk County PD. You'll pick that up if you're listening with his accent. So, but this is going to go beyond the badge. Michael's now the host of the Resilient Warrior Nation podcast, and he's also a guide for healing through plant-based medicines like ayahuasca that are helping first responders, veterans, and everyday people process trauma and rediscover purpose. We're going to talk about the real-life toll of, stuff that happens while you're in uniform, plus the path to healing after service, and then what it means to walk between both, between being a police officer and then these paths to healing that are sometimes taboo in society, or, people have questions about it. So that's one of the reasons why we're here to talk about it today. And then we're going to find out how many donuts it took Michael to get through a 30-year law enforcement career. So let's get into it. Welcome, Mike. Thanks for coming on.
Justin, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor and a pleasure.
Yeah, so it's cool. Yeah, we got hooked up through a friend, Taylor Kavanaugh. Other Than Honorable Podcasts, we'll pump that for him.
Plug him.
Other Than Honorable Podcasts, check out him and Jimmy Watson through Counterculture right here on the shirt. Hooked us up, and then it turns out that you're local. I scouted that out through your Instagram videos. I was like, this guy, these trees and these lakes are a South Florida style. So caught you. I could tell because by the voice, you're like, all right, maybe this guy's up in Long Island, but you weren't. You've taken the move to South Florida. When did you move to South Florida?
We came down the end of December of 23.
Okay. Yeah.
Love it down here.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. So yeah, he's not far. It's definitely much warmer than it is. I mean, except for maybe right now. I think it's probably cooler right now than it is in parts of New York and in the Northeast. I know they're hitting hundreds on the daily. At least we have wind.
Yeah, exactly. It's so funny because people joke around about how hot it is down here. My cousin in particular, and then I screenshotted her the weather for New York last week. I'm like, you guys are killing us. We're not approaching 100 degrees ever. So I'll take this any day of the week. Yeah,
it was weird. It was weird to me when they said on the news that Tampa, for the first time ever, hit 100, and I was like, never hit 100? Yeah, they've always only ever peaked at like 99. Wow. I was like, wow, that's interesting. And it's not something that you would think, but the humidity does kill a little differently down here.
Yeah, the humidity stuff.
Yeah,
I get you, man.
Yeah, like he's dying right here in our donut shop because it's a little warm, and I just try to mentally forget. But
you guys can't see the IV running through me right now. We just had to put in.
But all right, so where, let's establish you a little bit,
Sure.
Get a little bit into the career and stuff. Where are you from before you started with Atlanta? Because you don't seem like a guy that was born in Atlanta.
No, I cannot get rid of the subtle accent no matter what I try. I have to get a dialect coach, man.
Yeah.
Probably several. Yes, I was born and raised in Long Island, New York, Belmore, more specifically, which is the South Shore. And Long Island is broken up into Nassau and Suffolk counties, Nassau being the western portion. So I was about 45 minutes outside of Manhattan.
Okay. Yeah. I know. Yeah, I forget exactly where my buddy lives, but he just retired. He was on the show, John Trowbridge. He lives in Long Island, and he just he's a fireman, and he just retired in April, which is awesome. And he's been working at he does concerts now. He does security at
Jones Beach.
Yeah, Jones Beach. Yep.
My cousin too. He's retired captain of NYPD.
Yeah.
It's all cops and firemen that do that.
Yeah. So he was a volunteer fireman for his local township area,
Yep.
And then he was a sanitation. And so he just retired, and that's his gig now. He's
funny.
Hey man, catching concerts, and just. Hey, go this way, guys.
Exactly. Living the dream, baby.
So great for him, man. Happy for him, John.
Absolutely.
So what brought you to Atlanta, or what led to all that?
So I graduated from Hofstra University in May of '91 with an accounting degree. Started my illustrious career in October. Literally the first day commuting into Manhattan, I was working for Avon Corporate, and the one good thing was we worked.
So you were an Avon lady?
I was exactly an Avon lady. I'll tell you that one thing. It was it's a beautiful women working in that building. I'll give them that. But I used to work. It's called the 9 building, so it's 9 West 57th Street. It's right behind the Plaza Hotel, which most people know, pretty famous, infamous, and most people have seen this building a million times. If they're looking at a shot of Central Park, it's right behind there, so people would be familiar if they saw the building.
Yeah.
But I'm literally commuting that day, and I'm so flat, like there's no feeling of excitement, anything, and I'm very self-aware with my feelings, and I just kind of can't figure out what's going on. Like, this is the first day of the rest of my life. You know, you're starting this new career. Should be excited. Nothing. So I get introduced to a bunch of associates, bosses, and I'm given a task about 11 a.m. I wake up about 15 minutes later, my head in my hand, fell asleep, and literally go over into the cubicle of a guy I just met who seemed really cool. He just started recently as well. And I'm like, what's up, brother? You like this shit? And he's like, excuse me, my friend, am I allowed to curse?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm like, you like this shit? He's like, fuck no, I hate it. I'm like, there's no way I'm sitting in the cubicle for the next 35 years of my life, making no difference to anyone. No one other than my friends and close family and close friends are going to know whether I lived or died. And it was literally that first day. I'm like, I need to sit down and figure out what I want to do in my life. And went deep introspective, and my answer became very clear. Law enforcement just felt like a calling. And FBI was actually the way I was going to proceed at that point.
Right, because you've already got a degree in accounting, and that's one of the things that they tell us, like coming up as kids or in college, like when you're trying to pick your major, it's like if you want law enforcement, but you want federal, go for accounting or business, that kind of thing. So accounting would be even huge. So, okay, so you started looking FBI.
Yeah, I started looking, but that search quickly ended as they were on a federal hiring freeze. Oh. So again, this is like 91. I think the freeze lasted until late 97, maybe 98. So different course had to be charted. As luck may have it, my brother's friend had come into town. It was Labor Day weekend, 1992, and I happened to be bartending at a bar that my neighbor had owned. And my buddy introduced my friend, his brother, and myself. We started talking. He had just moved down to Atlanta. He previously worked for Pan Am Airlines. They had gone bankrupt. He worked at the Kennedy Airport. Delta picked up his entire welding shop, brought them to Atlanta. So anyone who wanted that job got picked up by Delta and moved to Atlanta. So he had been there approximately a year, and he was just telling me about it. He absolutely loved it. It was young, super inexpensive. I think he got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, half acre, $100,000. And he was just, you know, he had nothing bad to say about the city. I'm like, you know what? I want to get out of New York. I said, I was kind of thinking about becoming a cop myself at this point. My father at the time was FDNY, and he was actually, they called it chief's aide. So he drove the chief of the department. Mm-hmm. So had I joined NYPD, I had no desire to go FDNY. You guys can have that firefighting, man. I'd rather fight a human being than a fire any day of the week. So I could have gone anywhere in the NYPD. I had a crane, as they call it a hook or a crane. I had a crane. But I just had no desire to stay in New York. So I'm like, you know what? Let me apply to Atlanta. Did so in November, and by the following August, I was hired, which was incredible to me because NYPD at the time was still a sought-after job. It would probably take 2 to 2.5 years from application to appointment to the academy. So the fact this was done in like 9 or 10 months blew me away. That was it. Moved down to Atlanta in August of '93. I was recruit for a couple of months before the academy started, but I went through the academy, and we got out in April '94.
So April, no. So what I'm looking at Olympics. 96 was the Olympics, because I was like 92. No, wait a minute, that was Barcelona. So 92 was the Olympics. So you were pretty new working. You had the Olympics came on.
I was about 2.5 years out of the academy when the Olympics came to town. My Olympics sucked. I was assigned to the precinct. A lot of other guys, they just did like drawings and were drawing names out of a hat, essentially. So a lot of guys got put on Olympic detail. It's pretty funny because everyone who got put on the Olympic detail is like, damn, I want to stay in the precinct. And, I got picked to stay in the precinct. I'm like, that's awesome. By the end of the Olympics, I was hating life. We worked 6 on, 1 off for 3.5 weeks, 12-hour days.
Wow.
I did not stop. I was averaging 30-something calls a day. It was insane.
So you were just handling like walk-ins?
Handling 911 calls. And as luck may have it, the Olympic Stadium was in the confines of my beat. So not only was I handling regular calls, I had a ton of Olympic-related calls as well. So it was just insanity for me. So
when you say you're working the precinct, though, are you like stuck in the building, or are you just dispatching?
Patrol car, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I stayed in my regular sector. I was 302 cars, so I stayed that for the duration of the Olympics.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was from 7 A to 7 P, man. And when I tell you 7A to 7B, it did not stop.
Yeah. You're 6:58, and they're like, all right, copy another call, and it's like, girl, I'm going home in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, well, you can go home in 2 minutes after
Yeah.
this call.
That would
You
not
know?
happen because I'd be holding that call until we got called in. But yeah, exactly what you said.
Yeah. Well, and we still try and do that to this day, where it's like, I'm gonna hit this button on my computer so that I know I float to a different screen that she's not going to see.
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
And so they did it to us the other night, and it was like, oh man, you know. And Sarge just like, oh yeah, have these units, and I'm like, and I wanted to text him, but I'm like, I'm going to get my pee spanked if I text him and go, hey, FYI, we're 2 minutes over.
Yeah.
Like, you may have missed that 5 o'clock bell, like your watch didn't go off. So yeah, no, so that's frustrating. Well, but so then in Atlanta, so you get that freaking bombing in the park. That was like a big deal during that.
That was strange because that occurred on the midnights. So
Right.
I awoke to whatever station was on my alarm was a musical station, but I awoke to someone speaking. So I'm still in a daze, and all of a sudden I hear this guy mention some bombing in Olympic Centennial Olympic Park. I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa, that gets my attention, and then I put together pretty quickly what had happened, turned on the news on the TV, and quickly figured out what was going on. Spoke to a bunch of my buddies the next day, and they just said it was insanity at the park.
Wow. Yeah, no, it's insane. And this is not even anything I planned on talking to him about, but you just when you mention the date, it comes through, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. These are some interesting things about the career that.
I forget all about it too. It's funny you brought it up. I forget about the Olympics.
Yeah. I mean, I would think that that's kind of a big deal. I mean, it's a worldwide event.
Oh, yeah.
World focused on Atlanta. Atlanta gets a little bit of a black eye due to that. Richard something, I think, was his name.
Richard Jewell.
Yeah,
he
Richard
did not
Jewell.
do it. It was actually. They got a guy a couple years later. I could picture his face.
Oh no, Richard Jewell was the security.
He was the security guard that they falsely
Accused
put it
of
on
doing-
at first.
Yeah.
Randolph, Richard
William-
Randolph, maybe. Last name is Randolph, but I cannot forget.
I started to say William Randolph Hearst, but that's a completely
Yeah,
different.
exactly.
That's a completely different conversation.
Different caper.
Yeah, but yeah. So and they're basically probably putting all hands on deck with full blown. You're just on Alpha Bravo basically, 12-hour shifts, just like a national emergency or something like that. So
Yeah, that's what it was.
yeah, wow, what a time to be like, yo, I'm gonna go work in Atlanta, and then it's like, oh, we just got a major shit show.
Yeah, exactly. I was looking forward to the Olympics. Mine just didn't turn out the way I thought it would be. Like,
Yeah.
for instance, my partner, we were in adjoining sectors, different car. He was assigned to the stadium, and I think the first or second night of the Olympics, he was a sharp-eyed dude. It's funny. He's got a very southern accent, and people portray that accent or associate that with not being too intelligent.
Right.
Which, never judge a book by its cover, number one. Number two, he was a very, very intelligent guy, great street cop. But he's sitting there at the stadium one night, and he's just looking at this guy, and he's like, man, it's weird. He's got what looked to be a bulge in his on his side. He's like, there's no way he just made it through security. And he gets up on him, and I don't know, I forgot what he did. Maybe he pretended to kind of walk into him, and bam, he feels a gun. Sure enough, this dude had gotten into the stadium with a gun.
Yeah.
And I snatched him up and, 32'd him. But amazing that this guy got through those amount of layers of security with a gun on his side.
You can never be so soft to not look for those things, and that's the thing that's we'll talk about it later with some of the mental health issues that we deal with later in life, and as police officers and former police officers that we're consistently in that yellow, orange, almost red zone, because you can never just be, oh, I went through 3 layers of security, I am safe. Because as you just demonstrated, you're not.
No.
You always got to have your head on a swivel. You always got to be smart. You always got to be looking for things like exits. That's why we always stand with our backs to the walls and X, Y, and Z. We can talk about all that later. But that's all stuff that ultimately ends up weighing on our bodies. The cortisol, belly fat, gray hairs in my head, and all that kind of stuff. You shave them off.
Yeah.
But it comes along. And
Yeah, it's the truth. It's a good, valuable lesson to you guys who are currently active. Never take anything for granted. Number one, if I was transporting a perp and 4 other cops, like I searched them, like cool, I'm searching them again. No one's ever getting in my car without getting searched by me personally. And also, we have this human nature to think that people aren't doing something wrong. It's inherent in us. I always program myself to tell myself that someone had something on them when I was searching them. Find it. It was never, no, he's probably got nothing on him. It was always, he's got it, find it. And that's the way you should approach, a search or after you handcuff someone. Because here's actually a great story. My buddy, who's now assistant chief in Atlanta, arrested a guy. He's going into the Sally Port. We had cages in our cars, so Sally Port door opens. He's pulling it in. He's doing about 3-5 miles an hour. He looks in the rearview mirror, and this dude is coming up with a gun. He just hears a gunshot. The guy killed himself. What happened was he had jumped in cuffs and grabbed the gun that he had duct taped to the top of his chest. So my buddy missed it on the search.
Yeah.
Literally jumped cuffs, grabbed the gun, killed himself. Could have just as easily killed my buddy.
Killed him too.
So that's why I tell guys, you better get used to grabbing nuts on a search. And, searching thoroughly every single time you search a perp.
I mean, it's a good point too, because you don't even think about it sometimes, because you're looking at somebody, and especially in Florida when most people are just in a t-shirt, and it's like when you see, like, a lot of the times when I'm at the jail, I will watch what the jail deputies do, because it's like those guys know the hiding places, because they end up seeing them once they get them inside out of booking. They see them inside fully naked and they search deep. So, but they don't want to get inside and find something. So, and I watch them when they, like you're saying, come across the chest, and it's like, you don't even think about that, because I wouldn't carry a gun there, but you don't know, we don't know this.
Handcuff keys on a necklace.
Totally.
I've seen that twice.
Yeah, necklaces.
Like these true perps, man, they're no joke.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a crazy thought that somebody would duct tape or even strap a gun to their chest for whatever they were maybe doing before, and then you arrest them, and then they just happen to be, now in your car, and they can hop those cars. Oh God, yeah. So that is. Whew.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, just transporting the guy, man. If you see someone moving excessively, stop the car and see what the hell he's doing, because it's not normal to be doing that. So if you see someone just all over the place, they're doing something, man. Don't dismiss it.
Yeah.
See what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah.
Pull the car over. I've had numerous people midway jump in the cuff, and it wasn't pretty for them after that.
Yeah.
But
and I mean, nowadays, especially now with all the checks and balances that they have for us, it's like it used to be one thing, you do brake taps and stuff like that to try and teach somebody a lesson for being an a-hole or something like that. But nowadays, it's like I run my body cam the whole time. I got my GPS on my phone just for South Florida traffic, just to make sure I'm picking the best road to get to the jail. But my body cam's catching my GPS or on my phone, so that way I can double with what the GPS on my body cam says. But it's like all these things are going on. So it's like if somebody's moving around, I'm also customer servicing them, because I'm like, hey dude, you're moving around, what's going on?
exactly.
Because I don't want them to also come back and complain and say, oh, the officer did my cuffs too tight and it killed my wrist, or they did this to me. So I want it's all documented. Like, you're moving around, I don't have cameras in the back, but you're moving around, hey dude, what's up?
Yeah.
And you're just engaging them. You're either now going to let them know, hey, I'm watching you. I'm not just sitting here tooling along, driving Miss Daisy. I'm paying attention to what the hell you're doing. And then if you need to pull off, you pull off. You can, like for our cars, we have an internal cage on the window so they can't kick it out.
Right.
So I mean, I could just roll the window down and look through the window. I don't even need to open the door if it's one of those like, this is a dude that's been violent. I don't necessarily want to open the door and have the Tasmanian devil fly out.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep him in the cage for now. You can roll the window down, take a look at him, see what's up. Oh, shit, dude, you're sitting on your cuffs. What are you doing?
Yeah,
and then that's when you handle your business, put them back, do all that. Call another unit if you need to, whatever you got to do.
Yeah, and half these cats are walking around, they have ass packs. We used to call them, drugs. They'll secrete them in their underwear.
Yeah.
So they're trying to grab it and stick it under the seat.
Yeah.
So, you got to have your head in a swivel, man. I've seen cops, I don't know how they're still alive. Like, they're in white all day long. You have no awareness as to what the hell's going on. Like, this shit is for real, man. Your life is on the line every day. I don't know how some of these guys and girls don't realize that. And, they just kind of walk, like it's such a rainbows.
You're a big dude now, physically fit, muscular guy. Like, were you always that way, like even in Atlanta, or did you?
Yeah, I was probably, I would say I averaged, I was about 220 for most of my career. I'm probably 235 now. I'm carrying a little too much weight. But, I was always in shape. And I always trained.
Yeah.
My boy George Farady kind of changed my life. Guy came into my life, taught me how to fight, became very proficient and, what's the word I want to use here? Very comfortable with extreme violence.
Okay.
Which I think everyone who's on the street needs to be. When I was at FTO, I would ask the guys and girls, do you know how to fight? No. Okay, no embarrassment on saying that, but from this day forth, you need to start training to become good, because it's just a question of when, not if. Your life is going to be on a line. Your life could be my life, if I have you as backup. You have a family to go home. Like, you owe people to be in shape and to get proficient if you don't know what the hell you're doing. And I look at some of these people, man, they look like sacks of laundry. We have command presence. When you get out of that car, those perps size you up instantaneously. And they're going to try you, or they're not going to try you based on your appearance. You may not even know what the hell you're doing, but if you look like it, they're going to think twice about it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, man, they're going to eat you alive.
Yeah, it's important, and when you say violence and stuff, yeah, you always have to be ready for it. You can't be afraid of it either, especially doing this job. I used to do it, or I used to explain that, and then now we see it like in these comments on these Instagram and YouTube videos and stuff like that. People talking about a de-escalation and stuff like that. It's like, dude, you can't de-escalate every person. And arresting somebody or taking away their freedom is a violent act, even if it's a soft act of just putting their hands behind their back and putting handcuffs on them. That there is a minor level of violence just in that, in my opinion.
Yeah,
and people have become so soft outside of the profession, looking at it, thinking that we have to treat everybody with like some level of customer service, and it's like, no. Taking freedom away is a level of violence, just like presence is almost a level of violence, because you can look at somebody and go, violent man. And it doesn't have to be a Valhalla tattoo on your arm to explain that. Yeah. It's just the eye contact, the physical demeanor and stuff, and it's so important. And to not be afraid of it, and to know that every person you talk to could be wanting to kick your ass.
Guys and girls.
Yeah.
One of the I had a buddy named Chris Bunch, big jack dude, very intelligent guy, black guy in Atlanta. We get to a scene, and he's the type of dude people are like, whoa, calm down when they saw him. He almost got killed one day because he pulled up to a call. He sat in the car. The complainant was next to him, standing up, female. So he said, I took it for granted, man. I didn't get out of the car. He's like, it never happened again. She starts yelling at the dude that she called about. With that, pulls her bra out, takes a 38, starts clipping rounds off at this dude. She could easily put two in his head.
Yeah.
So he's like, bro, he was kind of shaken afterwards.
Yeah.
I saw him. He's like, bro, man. He tells me what happened. I'm like, damn, brother.
Yeah.
And listen, it can happen to anyone. You can't be on 24/7.
Yeah.
But his ass should have been out of that car, number one.
Yeah. The car is a death box. It's got to. It just gets me to point A and point B. But anybody that isn't a cop that's pulling up to my window or walking up to my window, I'm always like half rolling it down, going, hey, just right there, hold on right there and let me get out.
Yep.
Because they want to come up to your window and then they get all mad and offended that you want to get out of the car. No, dude, I want to give myself the ability to retreat if I need to, the ability to use my car as a tool and move around it as a barrier, or use it to throw your ass up against it as a wall. All those things, all of that needs to be available to me, and it ain't. The only thing that's available to me in my car is either drawing, which is sometimes difficult, or throwing it in drive or reverse and getting the hell out of there, and I don't want to do that either. Exactly. I'd rather take to the fight and be involved with that person. So it's wow. Yeah, no, I mean, we definitely need to. So I'm going to cut a break right here. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. And I want to talk about the two different environments that he's worked in Atlanta, and then move into Suffolk County. Hey, what's up, guys? I want to talk to you about Tasty Gains. They're a sponsor of Counterculture Inc. We love them, been using them, and I enjoy it. It's a little gummy. It's got like 1 gram of creatine in there, so you take 3 a day, knock it out. It's making a difference, and it gives me a little bit of sweetness too during the day. I can keep them right in my backpack in my car at work, and they don't melt. You can see this is the mango pineapple. It's my favorite flavor, but check it out. Use code Counterculture to get 20% off on Tasty Gains. So check out Tasty Gains. They're great. So get your swole on. What's in the cup? Guys, what's in my cup? Blackout Coffee Company. We joined up with them. I've been drinking it and I enjoy it. And I think you may enjoy it as well. So you can go over to our website and click the link, or you can just go to their website, blackoutcoffee.com, and use our coupon code to get 10% off. The code is DSP10. So go over, check it out. We're back. So you worked Atlanta, 10 years. Why'd you want to move? Did you long for better pizza?
Exactly. Well, that's definitely one of the big reasons. But my entire time there, I had anticipated leaving for. So I was taking 3 tests. I was waiting for EPI to pop up, and then, as I mentioned before, Nassau and Suffolk counties on Long Island have their individual police departments. So I would have taken either one of those jobs had they popped up.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I was periodically taking tests. I'd taken Suffolk's, I think in '97. I got 100 on it. They turned around. They started having lawsuits, reverse discrimination lawsuits. They ended up throwing that test out. It's amazing. 39,000 people took that test. It's 100 per, so it was 3.9 million that the county netted, and they just threw it out. No one got refunds, anything like that.
So you had to pay money to take their test?
Yep.
Holy crap!
Yeah,
I mean,
that
I guess if you're testing people at a huge rate like that, you almost need a charge because that's just a ridiculous
Yeah,
it's
they were
a
renting out
cost.
Facilities, yeah, exactly. There's definitely a cost associated. That job was highly sought after at the time. Probably still is in amongst law enforcement jobs. I mean, as we know, law enforcement as a whole has taken a huge hit
Yeah.
on people wanting to enter the career path. But yeah, it was 3.9. So that takes me to 98. I retook the test in 98, and it's amazing. At that point, they had right and wrong answer tests to that point, and simple mathematics, reading comprehension. But all of a sudden, they were talking about math being discriminatory. So they changed the test around to make some of the answers subjective. So I ended up getting a 90 on the next one, which put me down on the list. I think I was like number, everyone that got 90 was like 5,000 number. So I ended up getting called 3 years later. But I had also gone through the EPI hiring process, passed the written. They flew me to Fort Lauderdale. We took a board, oral, passed that, and then I failed the polygraph, which is a joke.
Yeah.
Because I didn't lie. The question that I failed was, "Do you ever sell drugs?" And I used to hang out with a kid in ninth grade that sold dime bags of weed to neighborhood kids. Never had any interaction in terms of dealing. I would just, I knew everyone he was dealing to, but I never had anything. Never really, I smoked a little bit here and there. That was the extent of my lifelong drug use. But I popped. I guess I felt guilty on it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't meant to be for whatever reason. The universe wanted me going Suffolk.
Yeah.
So that was it. Took Suffolk and got that position in October '93.
Wow.
Moved back.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So October. So, but wait a minute. October 93?
Oh, excuse me,
2003. I was like, wait a
My
minute.
bad, yeah.
I was like, wait a minute. Doesn't make sense.
Quick
So,
career, bro.
Yeah. So I was like, so you're lying about your 10-year career in Atlanta.
We got you.
Yeah. So 03. So wow. And so then you're back to New York now in a post 9/11 world, New York area. So another huge milestone, claimant time, terrible tragedy. So wow, man. So and then you're going back home.
Yes.
So you're going back home. Like, how far are you working from basically where you grew up?
So the academy was out in Brentwood, Suffolk County Community College. That was probably, I'd say, 25 miles from my childhood home. I ended up moving to West Islip out in Suffolk County after my ex-wife and I got a house after I graduated. So I was probably 20 miles from my childhood home.
Oh wow.
In Suffolk County, yeah.
Yeah, cool. I mean, anything bad to say about Atlanta, or would you just say it just it was good time and just time to move on?
I mean, the department was extremely poorly run.
Uh-huh.
We got paid garbage. We were the most violent city in America for it in my 10 years, and probably top 3 of the other 6 that we weren't. Esteemed number 1. I don't know. It was insanity. I mean, I love the action, but at the same point, it's a young man's game, so you get burnt out after a while. Literally, my first night out of the academy. So we got out of the academy. We graduate after field training. So get out of the academy itself on a Monday. My first day of work was a Tuesday for field training. Worked at midnight, so we started at 11 p.m., 11 to 7. By midnight, I was at my first homicide scene.
Yeah.
Interesting story. It was actually an Atlanta fire department captain who was on suspension for messing with young girls, who decided to pick up a prostitute that night. He picks up a 16-year-old prostitute. Decides he wants to smoke crack, so he goes to get a rock. Pulls up to the local drug boy on the corner. This is crazy. And the guy looks in the car, and who does he see but a 16-year-old cousin? Pulls out his gun.
Done.
Boom, one in the head.
Wow.
Made coleslaw out of that cabbage.
Wow.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Oh my God.
Nuts.
Man.
I get this scene, man. Brain matter all over the inside of the windshield, everywhere. And literally, first hour, and then by 4 a.m., which is 4 hours later, my first homicide that we had to handle, that was actually in our sector. And by the time we get to the call, he had just gotten shot. His eyes were still open. It was April night. It was a little bit of rain, so there was a little bit of smoke kind of coming off his body. Eyes are wide open, and it used to always bug me out that I would get to scenes of newly deceased and be like, man, this dude was living his life like 3 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And now he's dead forever.
Yeah.
You know, eyes open, just kind of looking at me. And it was funny, too, because word came down very quickly that Junebug did it. So about 2 months later, I was on Footbeat at the time. Someone mentioned some dude, Junebug, is slinging dope wherever we were. I'm like, yo! I'm like, this guy shot some cat at Smith and Bass Streets 2 months ago. And my buddy's asking me, tell him about it. I tell him, he starts laughing. He's like, dude, you know how many Junebugs are in the hood? I'm like, oh, really?
It's a common name. It's like Chris and Mike.
Yeah, exactly. Kojo, this guy's name is Kojo. He's laughing his ass off. I'm like, okay, brother. Education for a middle-class white boy now.
Yeah, exactly. Because you weren't coming from that type of a society, or that type of world, and you get to play with it. But yeah, what a crazy that first murder with wow.
That was nuts.
I mean, suspended, and that's the crazy thing is you don't just think like one day like I think I want to go buy crack, like with a 16-year-old hooker, like this is. I mean, do we call 16-year-old a hooker? Like sounds like a career choice, but yeah. I mean, wow. Crazy, man. That's nuts. Oh
it really
man,
was.
that's terrible. Wow. Yeah. So that's Atlanta in a nutshell.
Yeah. I looked at my buddy. He was getting trained as well. Next sector over. I'm like, O'Neill, what the fuck do we get ourselves into?
O'Neill.
And it got crazier from there. It was just insanity. I mean, I loved it, but my cousin who used to work in NYPD, he worked in the E3, and the NYPD was East New York, which is a very busy area and kind of a shithole. And he comes to a ride along with me. And our last name's Morgan also. We call each other Morgs. He looks at me. He's like, Morgs, you got to get the fuck out of here. I'm like, why? He's like, this is insane.
Yeah.
And we were single man cars. He's like, and you don't even have a partner.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? NYPD's not, A3's not like this? He's like, A3 is like a country club compared to this. Are you kidding me? I'm like, oh, it's normal, bro. I don't know anything else other than this.
Yeah.
So it was nuts.
Wow. So yeah, you end up back in Long Island, which is not set up like that at all. It's not that type of lifestyle.
A little bit different.
Different type of police work. And so now you're up there and you pretty much do a full pull of, they have a 20 and do they have a 20 ability or what's like the...
Suffolk's 20 and out, but no one does 20. Suffolk County is like one of those jobs where everyone does 30, 32. 32 is the max.
Yeah.
Most people do 32,
yeah.
if not more. I think some guy just retired. Jablonski used to work at the academy with 40, if not 40 plus.
How do you finagle that?
That's insane. He just, it's funny. He was losing money going to work.
Yeah.
But he just loved what he was doing. Really good guy.
So that's probably really what you're saying is like after 32, you really end up losing money.
Yeah.
And that has to do with like, the amount of money going into your pension and what you're, and you're not contributing to your pension anymore, that kind of thing. So it's not something that I'm well versed in because I'm not worried about it because I'm leaving before I worry about any kind of drop or anything like that. Like I am getting my pension the day after 20.
Yeah,
so,
good for you.
So you get to Suffolk County, it's, kind of returning to home and, what happens? What's it like up there now?
I mean, it was a great place to work. The quality of life is so much different. The union is so strong, so you're very well protected. And everything that happened in Atlanta happens in Suffolk, just on a much smaller scale.
Yeah.
But it took a lot of getting used to. I mean, I was literally so bored my first 6 months that I called back to Atlanta, spoke to my old major. I was up for a canine slot in Atlanta. Had I stayed when I was in Atlanta, I would have stayed in Atlanta. But I'm like, listen, if I come back, can I get that canine slot? He's like, Morg, they just changed the SOPs. You have to have 3 years continuous service on the street without a break in service. I'm like, so I have to go back to the street for 3 years before I go back to a unit, specialized unit?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah. I'm like, that's not happening.
Yeah.
So that was it. I stayed, and I'm glad I stayed. It would have been a mistake to go back, but I mean, it was great. It was very strange. Like I'm going there, more experienced than anyone that I work with, and it wasn't like I was bragging about it. Like it was 2 ears, one mouth. Shut up. I got trained, did a good job. very active, but I don't know. I also missed some things about Atlanta. I had started a police fire hockey team that was no longer, so I missed that. But yeah, it was a good decision. Worked at a second precinct for the most part. Very, very nice place to work. We had this one area called Huntington Station, kind of gang infested area. It's not gang infested, but it's weird, man. Like when you talk about Atlanta gang infested area, not that we had formal gangs. It was more of each project had their own gang, their own clique. They weren't as violent with us. Like no one fought the police for the most part. We had MS-13.
So in Atlanta or in
Suffolk? They didn't. I was not used to like perps not fighting us. Like
because they did in Atlanta.
Oh
yeah.
I've squared off 8 times in Atlanta. Like Atlanta was nuts.
Yeah.
But MS-13 is big in Long Island. And
really?
MS-13 is weird because you don't have guys sitting on the corner slinging dope. Everyone's got usually menial jobs that they're working during the day. You know, busboys, landscapers, car wash, whatever it may be. But at night, they're ganging up and doing their stuff. So it's very weird because, you know, most places you go to, L.A., if you went there, you see these guys, you know, chilling on the corner, slinging dope, or doing what they're doing and hanging together. These guys mostly work jobs, and then they're doing a gang activity at night. So it's a different dynamic.
So they're slightly assimilated into a society versus being what you would like an eyesore or something like that on society, or almost easier to pick out.
Yeah.
You know, granted the tattoos and stuff like that that we see on the news or online about the neck and face tattoos help pick you out.
Yeah.
But, you know, for the most part, like you said, you're just seeing guys mowing lawns, doing work, busting tables and stuff.
And mostly short in stature, as funny as that sounds. So they're not physically intimidating.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a totally different dynamic. Meanwhile, you know, 10 of them would gang up machetes and hack you to death.
Yeah,
like,
they're violent.
They're animals, yeah.
Yeah, it's a violent group. So you got to deal with that coming back in being in Suffolk County and seeing that kind of stuff in some of those smaller pockets.
Yes.
And on a less frequent basis maybe than what you saw in Atlanta.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, like we worked, I was on an anti-crime squad, I think in like 07, 08. So we would work like the hot parts of each precinct. And we would go to Wyandanch in the first precinct, which was really a hotbed of criminal activity. But still, you know, you get there, and I was used to the insanity of Atlanta, nothing else compared to it. So, you know, we're going to these places, and everyone's like, you know, I don't want to say taken aback, but everyone's maybe somewhat intimidated. And I'm like, this is it? Like, I'm not bragging. It's just I happen to be in those circumstances, and it was just a different environment. Like Atlanta was nuts.
Yeah, New York loves the unit terminology of anti-crime. Wouldn't most police work be anti-crime? I'm just ragging on New York for the statement.
Well, anti-crime, no, you have to have the hat backwards, a t-shirt, and then
511 pants or some type of
base shorts in the summertime.
Yeah, it's a boots. Yeah, Yankees or a Mets hat turned backwards.
Exactly. Have to have the baseball tats. You make it with anti-crime.
With an American flag on your sleeve. You know, it's
a must.
Yeah. Those Instagram pictures of the guys on the train platform or on the subway platform, and it's like, come on, guys. You're wearing the uniform. Like there's 5. I always thought about that. Like even in DC when I'd go to police week and we're walking around and nobody's got a badge out and they don't necessarily have the resilient warrior or 511 type T-shirt on, but like my wife, I'd be like, those guys are cops, and she's like, how do you know? I'm like, 3 to 4 dudes walking together in a downtown city area, like not flamboyant or not looking on the gay spectrum, they're cops. Yeah, exactly. You know, like they're just. I might walk around with one buddy, but like multiple buddies, and if we're not just like bar hopping, it's a little cheeky, a little cheeky.
Exactly.
So
we were in the airport recently. I saw 5 guys walking towards us, all jacked, kind of tightly compacted as they were walking, and we passed them. I'm like, guaranteed special force guys.
Yeah.
My wife's like, why? I'm like, look at them. Everyone's jacked, you know, high and tight haircuts. I mean, squared away. She's like, what, you don't think cops? I'm like, nah, everyone's just in too good of shape. 5 of them being in that shape, guaranteed special force. Guaranteed.
They might have been coming down for a SWAT conference or something like that.
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah.
I want to stop and be like, yo, you guys just confirm this with me, man.
Yeah. So we have this, my wife and I have this bet going on or whatever. All right. So 30 years in law enforcement. I guess we'll probably bounce back and forth with some stories with law enforcement with this, but after 30 years in law enforcement, what did retirement not prepare you for?
Well, first of all, retirement, I was not prepared to retire. So I'd blown my back out on a call in September of 20. 6 months of conservative treatment led to my first surgery in April of 21. Recovered, but went back to work for like 3 days in October of 21. Just could not sit at a desk, could not bend over. My neurosurgeon's like, you're going to need a spinal fusion at some point.
Yeah.
And so we were trying to push that off as much as possible. I'm back to him like, Doc, I have to get this done. I'm just too much pain. I can't sit here. So April of 22, got a spinal fusion. I was medically retired in October of 22. So there was 2 years now of not working. I wasn't allowed to volunteer. I wasn't allowed to lift. I built a gym in my basement, so I was able to do that, but no purpose. And now after I retired, I had to go another year for my workers' comp case. So tag on a third year of that. I just started thinking. They said what's the old adage? Devil's hands, idle hands are the devil's work.
Yeah.
I just started thinking, and I started feeling anger, I guess periods of rage, some depression, just was not feeling myself, was not feeling happy. I'm pretty self-aware. I had no idea of the origination of these feelings. I would tell my wife, like, baby, I just don't feel good. I would snap at her every now and then, and nothing too crazy, but I was just a dick sometimes.
Yeah.
And I did not want to be. I'd say something crass, and be like, why'd I do that? What is wrong with you? And it kind of came to a head. Spring of 23, I sat down and watched a Sean Ryan podcast. So we're living in Smithtown now, and get all my stuff outside. It was a cool day, not knowing that this podcast is about to change the entire trajectory of my life. He's interviewing a man named Eddie Penny, who's a former Navy SEAL, Team 6 guy himself, and he's recounting the story of the Extortion 17 incident, in which Chinook was shot down in Afghanistan by insurgents,
Right.
killed all 38 aboard, including 17 SEALs. It was the largest loss of community ever in one event. I think a great portion of those guys were Dev Group guys, Team 6 guys.
Yeah.
And he was talking about losing his best friend, Jason Workman, in the incident, and then escorting his body back to his hometown. And as he's telling the story, he's visibly upset, rightly so. And I simultaneously began thinking about a call I had buried, happened 5 years before, about a 2-year-old found floating in a pool. Beautiful girl named Dana Sikorsky. And that call affected me greatly. And I just started bawling like a fucking baby, and out of nowhere. And instantaneously, man, I'm like, holy shit, I think I have some sort of PTSD. I think it's what's causing what's going on with me. And it was like a snap of a finger. And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, man, I need help. I'm like, I'm not living with this the rest of my life, being this cranky dude that hates everyone and everything. We've seen guys who are suffering from it, and it is not pretty. And I realized I needed help. I started thinking about how I was going to go about that. And first thought popped in my head was therapist. I'm like, nah, man, I can't talk to some girl or guy sitting behind a desk, never seen. I'm going to tell them what I've done and seen. They're going to be able to understand that.
Yeah.
And help me. There's no way. It just didn't register as going to be effective for me. And I had seen these guys speaking about psychedelic therapies, coming back from war, broken men, and they're talking about healing from ibogaine, ayahuasca, psilocybin, and I had been mostly dismissive of it, and like, that's for hippies. But now I started paying attention, and now I'm hearing more information. I'm kind of doing research, and I told my wife, I'm like, I have to try this ayahuasca. I'm like, these guys are telling, stories about it being the most miraculous thing they ever experienced. And that was it. My wife and I went to it's now a defunct facility, but it was called Soul Quest Ayahuasca Church in Orlando last March 1st of 2024. And we were going for 3 ceremonies during the weekend. The first one was Friday night. And literally, my life was changed after that first 4-hour ceremony. Like I say now, I was reborn in a non-religious sense.
Yeah.
It's the most profound cathartic thing I ever experienced. And as I'm coming out of that first journey, the universe and I were talking. I know it sounds crazy if you've never experienced it, but the universe was talking to me and said, I healed you from your PTSD. Your life's pursuit is now go forth and help other first responders and vets heal theirs. And I literally said, okay, I accepted it. Wasn't sure how I was going to implement it, but I knew I had to do for others kind of what was done for me. And that's why I started my podcast to do for others what Sean Ryan's did for me. We'll get into it, but this mental health suffering that we go through as first responders and vets cannot be understated. I mean, we see the suicide problem; it's an epidemic.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell guys. I was talking to a fireman the other day, came to pressure wash my house. I'm like, if you don't leave these careers with some sort of damage, then I don't want to say something's wrong with you, but you got very, very lucky, after seeing all that trauma and death and destruction that we see, to leave there unscathed is extremely rare unless you're a psychopath or a sociopath. And, I didn't feel it in my career, but post-career, like, it was there.
I mean, we've talked about it. There's been at work. There's been a large push, like in South Florida, for the CIT type training and the crisis intervention training. And there was a speaker when I did the class that talked about how a homeless guy that he'd met in Fort Lauderdale, and it was actually an Alaska state trooper, had many years under the belt, but found his. I'm going to mess the story up partially, but found his wife cheating on him with a friend, and it went click, and he literally dropped everything and just checked out. Wow. Moved and made his way to South Florida as a homeless man, and he was living on the streets. He had been a respectable Alaska state trooper, law enforcement officer. So it's like that was one of those things that, in that class could resonate with the people in that class because it was law enforcement officers. Sure. So it's like, look, any of you may or may not have that hidden trigger in your mind that causes you to have a psychological break like this guy did, and it could have been compounded among many things. Yeah. And like you said, it was something like just watching that Sean Ryan podcast. It was something that the guy talking and expressing his emotions made you see, that pulled out of, I call them black files, pulled this out of your file that was like, whoa. And then you had a reaction to it and recognized it and saw it and stuff like that. So that's, whether we carry it silently or just that we don't know. Some of us mask it or hide it or different things that we deal with, through alcoholism or hobbies or being eccentric in other things. We can hold it silently or hold it in a black file that you don't know, and you don't know that someday it's just going to go click and bring you to it.
100%. So, and for me, just to interrupt,
it's your turn.
I now know that I'm watching this absolute alpha male warrior cry, and it subconsciously gave me permission to do so. That's I don't know if I didn't see him that day, I would not be here right now talking. But I don't even know if I would know at this point what I have been suffering from. Right. So that's what I try to do as well. Like, these alpha males need to know that showing and expressing emotion is not weakness. It's actually showing a strength. Letting yourself become vulnerable, which you have to do to heal, is actually strength. It's not weakness. But it's pounded into us,
as kids from your football coach, like, walk it off, rub some dirt in it, and I'm not telling everybody that we've got to be sissies across the board, and I'm definitely no major alpha male. I've got a little bit of it, but I've had my bouts of tears and stuff in my life, and I've pretended to be as strong as I could for a long time. But I think nowadays we're starting to learn more and more that the ability to have conversations like this with people that we barely even know, to be vulnerable about things, and to have conversations with people, even if it's just as focused as me trying to have conversations with my wife, that person that's supposed to share my life with me, that I really should be 100% honest about everything. I'm still teaching her those ways, because she is not, and I'm getting her to learn about that, and she's starting to open up about some of those things in her life to
start healing.
Try to heal, and just to make you a better person. Because I was telling you before the show, like, I see times where I will be, weight on your shoulders, compounded or compressed, and you lash out with, as you said, sarcasm or the little quips or something like that. That sometimes hurt people's feelings when
Yeah,
when a lot of
absolutely.
times we're just trying to be ball busters, because a lot of times that's how we deal with it in our line of work, is the dark humor. But we also forget sometimes that there's not a place.
Yeah.
And then we also got to remember that sometimes people just can't receive dark humor, or because there's those social media memes or quotes that say, like, if you have a group of friends that you can consistently pick on each other and ball bust, like, that is your true group of friends, which I totally agree with. But sometimes I do that to people that aren't in that group of friends,
Yeah,
and then they get upset with me, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I was talking to you like a friend,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and I now recognize that I cannot talk to you that way. My bad.
Yeah.
And I'm conscious of it, but I also then now look at you differently and feel like you're a bitch. But
There's different dynamics to every
yeah,
relationship.
yeah,
So true.
and we see it now so much in the job and in the career, that some people just aren't of that locker room mentality, or
No.
that hard mentality. But we also have to recognize when that's a crutch or a mask or something that we're hiding behind as well.
Exactly.
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 We look at dogs and animals, and you aspired to be a canine officer. You have to understand that sometimes people react very similar to animals when they're backed into corners, when they might be wagging their tail, but they're ready to eat your face
Oh,
off,
yeah.
even though they're wagging their tail. Oh, baby, what's up? And
Absolutely.
so there's bits of animal behavior that we have to recognize that humans do exist as well. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just going off in a weird realm of a tangent. So we'll take a quick break, recap, and then we'll be right back. Yo, what's up, everybody? I want to let you know I have a new website format. Same website, donutshoppodcast.com, but this time I'm running it through Shopify. Make it much easier to purchase items, because aside from the hats that I have up there, Donut Shop Podcast PVC hats, the blue line snapback, laser mesh, nice and clean on the inside, comfy hats, I have some other swag, t-shirts, can koozies, just some other stuff that I put up there. I'm running the website through Shopify, and so it'll make it real easy for you guys to go on and purchase some stuff and support the show. So thanks for tuning in and following the show, and don't forget, donutshoppodcast.com. Thanks. All right, we are back. I changed up this camera a little bit, lowered the ISO, just the lighting. It looks so bright.
Does it?
So we are back and taking that quick break. So now I want to get into terminology, plant-based medicine, right? So this is the journey that you started talking about before the break. You said you and your wife, like, did you participate in this with your wife as well, or
Yes.
she just kind of
No, she's been along.
you?
Yeah, she's been along every journey. We've journeyed together. I think I've drank 11 times. She's consumed 10 times.
Is that normal? I feel like I've only heard people do it like once or twice. You sound like you're addicted to it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say addicted. So, people ask why do it more than, that first weekend. And my thing is every journey is different. And just kind of exploring to see what pops up. Unfortunately, I didn't have a good relationship with my father. So that's popped up before. I mean, one of the journeys was me just talking to him for 2 hours, asking why. And the next night was 2 hours of me, for the first time in my life, without anger, telling him how he hurt me, doing this. My mom and I, unfortunately, were estranged at the time of her death. So she's yet to appear in any journey, but I'm hoping that kind of pops up to work through some stuff there. And then it's just, I don't know. Like, I feel like I'm expanding my consciousness every time I do it. Every journey is different. It's weird, like having conversations with the universe, and the universe telling me that I put you through everything for this reason, to put you here today so you can talk to these men and women. You walk in a room and you have instant credibility because you've walked the walk, and now when you talk the talk, they'll listen to you.
Yeah.
Because you're genuine.
Do you, so, I mean, and again, I'm always just going to like lean on my questions about things. And somebody was like, why would you ever do that? You don't vomit, because people associate vomiting with it. They say you're just laying around vomiting all weekend. Is that true?
No, I mean, you do purge. But so essentially you're getting rid of things that no longer serve you. It's symbolic. You're physically doing it as well. But typically I'll feel it approach. You typically purge 4 or 5 times, put the bucket down, I'm done. So it's not like it's going on continuously for hours. Some people have it a little bit rougher.
That's what's scary for me. I have not thrown up since 5th grade.
Really?
Yeah, I very sick in 5th grade, all over the school classroom, all over the sink, all that kind of stuff. And I think there's a which would tie into this. There's a mental block that prevents it. And I've had food poisoning since then. I've been
You didn't throw up from food poisoning?
Nope.
Wow.
I've been very, very drunk. All things that my friends can explain to you, and some of those, and then my wife and my, like my mom might have been around for food poisoning or whatever, and they've found me on the bathroom floor, heaving, trying to get it out, but it just won't come out.
Wow.
So I either need a Green Mile John Coffee to come around me and pull it out, or something else. So that is probably would be, if I ever did it, would be the biggest goal. Or the biggest hurdle is to try and see if I could do that. And then who knows? I mean, my best friend can pretty much puke on demand, especially if he's like too drunk and feels nauseous. He's like, oh, okay, I need to throw. All right, puke and rally. I'm ready to go. I'm clear, and let's put it back in the system.
Some of these cats can do it quickly.
Yeah. So, all right. So that's interesting. That gets a question that I didn't have written down. All right. So ayahuasca and other plant medicines can be misunderstood, especially from people of our background with law enforcement circles. How do you begin to bridge the gap for those conversations for skeptics, like I'm pointing to myself, or just other fellow officers? Because that's, I'm assuming, a portion of who you talk to, especially with your background of being an officer.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good question. And to say that I went into that, full speed ahead, let's do this, is 100% false.
So you had your own apprehensions.
Yeah. I mean, first off, I'm like, what? Like, hippies do this, man. There's no way I'm doing this. And then I'm seeing these special force operators doing it. So it kind of brought me back to the other side. All right, let me research a little bit more. And, then we go to the facility itself that weekend, and I see maybe hippie-ish looking people. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing here, man? These are not my people. And I'll tell you, by the time that weekend ended, those were my people.
Yeah, I just saw a video you recently posted with a guy with a beard and long hair and stuff, and it looks like that hippie guy.
Yeah.
And you were like, good friend, 10 years, Like
and he's a former Air Force PJ.
Yeah,
so,
that's what that's right. He was an Air Force PJ.
Yeah. So tip of the spear guy.
Yeah.
And, he's consumed many a times. But, yeah, it's one of those things that I don't try to convince anyone of anything. I tell them about my experience, and my experience alone. I totally understand the apprehension. If you were bringing it to me, I would have been like, what? But it's been used for thousands of years by tribes. It's medicine. It's not drugs. It's so funny because there's no stigma associated. If I was to tell you just now I was on antidepressants for the past 20 years or SSRIs, you'd be like, cool. No stigma attached. That's fine.
So those.
Second, I mentioned plant-based medicines. People are cocking their head to the side, like what?
Right.
I was talking to a Green Beret. We were at a veterans and first responder ceremony weekend, and he's like, Mike, I was on 11 medications at one time. He's like, no one batted a fucking eye. But he goes, I drank once. I came off everything. I'll never touch that again. He goes, but the second I mention this, people looking at me like I'm out of. Are you okay? Are you all right? He goes, life is backwards. We're conditioned by Big Pharma to think that, all these medicinal cures are the cure itself. There's a place for SSRIs and antidepressants. To me, it's short-term use. I'm not a doctor. I'm sure clinicians will disagree with me, but to put people on drugs where they feel nothing is not living. It's such a common theme when you speak to people who are on these. And I remember when I was a cop, I get calls, mental health calls, and a lot of them ended up after 9/11 and the subsequent war being veterans.
Yeah.
And they were having, difficulties. And I would talk to them about, how come you're not taking your meds? Like, Officer Morgan, I don't feel anything, man. I'd rather feel this deep depression than nothing. And they become robots. And what's the point of life if you're not living at all? You're just simply existing.
And I feel that some of it is some of the times where law enforcement comes into that individual in crisis is because they've been on these prescribed drugs. They do have something wrong with them, either if it's a chemical imbalance, that a biological thing in their body that makes them schizophrenic or something like that. But it's then that statement of it doesn't make me feel anything, or I don't have a libido, or I have, low hunger, all these kind of different symptoms, and then they come off of it. It's the societal or family pressure to get back on it that causes them to go into a crisis and spin out, and then now they're dealing with law enforcement either on a Baker Act type situation or a suicide by cop type call, where they're just in so much crisis because of outside pressures to get back on the medication or this. They want to live their life in this hallucinogenic state that they're already in. And I think it's cool that there's now people like yourself and that people going through these, like you said, churches or these organizations, that I don't think it's studied enough as far as what's more beneficial, or can it be a cure or a way of fixing things. But I think that there's enough conversation now out there, especially through podcasts and stuff, that are showing that the 6 drugs that you're on, or the 10 drugs that you're taking that are doing all sorts of things additionally to your body, when these guys are coming with true stories that say, I don't even smoke cigarettes anymore. Like, I have zero interest in doing that, but I'm now a 10 times better person. I'm not taking any of these medications. And it's like, how do you qualify that? Like,
You can't just dismiss it.
other than story, but it's also then hard to study. And then the other thing is what we know in big pharma and all that kind of stuff. There's no finance to it.
Yeah.
This is not a money-making scheme.
Well, they're trying now to synthesize versions of these drugs because they know how effective they are.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that ayahuasca is a controlled one substance tells you all you need to know about big pharma.
Yeah.
It's not right for abuse. You would never, ever, it's not a euphoric feeling. Many times people are going through the most profound pain. I mean, you'll hear screaming and crying. They're working through some of the most traumatic events of their life, sexual abuse, whatever the case may be. And man, I've heard some stories that would just blow your mind. Like, it is sickening what human beings do to each other.
Are capable of.
Done. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the fact that that's a Schedule 1 narcotic is it should not be anywhere near that list. And it just shows you. And the fact that they're trying now to synthesize versions of these medicines shows you all you need to know, because they know they work.
Yeah, so, and they want to make money off of it.
And as soon as they do that, as soon as they figure out a way to do it, suddenly you're going to see them become legal, as long as they can make the money off it. So it's going to go one of two ways. Either they're going to make it so it's a chronic medication, like an antidepressant. So maybe they'll have psilocybin without the psychedelic effects. It's not going to be the same medicine as if it was essentially dug up in the wild, or a vine, ayahuasca vine that was boiled. It's going to be somewhat substantially different, allowing them to make medication, but it's either going to be something that they're going to make you take as a chronic medication or a one-time use, and the price is going to be astronomical.
Well, and that's the thing. You can't make money off something unless it's very expensive once, or you're on a payment plan.
Exactly.
And so that's the payment plan. That's the SSRIs, the half-lives. You have to maintain this in your body to make it work, which means you have to continually pay X, Y, all that kind of stuff. So that's the frustrating part with it. And so to say that someone could do it once in the current manner and fashion it is, before Big Pharma will take it. I hate to say healed or cured. Could someone, like these special operations folks and stuff, could it be somewhere where they do like one time, or just every year or two?
It could be one-time use. I was listening to Rob O'Neill, the man who shot bin Laden, talk about it.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. Talk about his Ibogaine use. So I've seen guys go and journey with Ibogaine one time, never touch it again, change your life forever. I've seen others like Rob, who periodically says he does it about once a year. He'll start getting the feelings that he used to have in terms of anger, depression,
wanting to be a liar,
snapping, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And he goes back and for tune-ups, if you will.
Yeah.
So or
tune-ups. That's a good terminology.
yeah,
Just like you're going to rotate your tires every 4,000 miles. You got some tread. You got some life on these tires. And
exactly.
you want to do, or hey, once in a while I run an Apple computer. I got to restart it once in a while. I can't keep it on 100% of the time. I restart it every once in a while.
Like a mental health tune-up, so to speak. So yeah, I mean, everyone's different in how they see their journeys going with this. I've seen numerous people who've done it one and done, and they got what they needed. That was it. When I was explaining mine, it's curiosity as well as, listen, you're still going through life, man. Traumas are hitting you. It's a way of healing, but mine, in terms of, I still want to put peace with my relationships with my parents. I want to put it kind of to peace if I can ever. And I'm also, I don't know, I like to expand my consciousness, see what else is out there. I mean, just the stuff I've experienced is just so profound and cathartic. And I don't have the feeling. It's not calling me now. I haven't done it in months. I think the last time I journeyed was probably 6 months ago. So who knows? I mean, I could be done. I can't tell you at this point.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely open to doing them again.
And you don't look like you've turned into a hippie. So
nah,
so
first thing from
you
a
got
hippie.
You got a little soul patch going on.
My wife
so
loves this thing. I don't even like it, but she loves it, so I'm going to keep it.
So all right, well, what is it? You mentioned a root. What is ayahuasca?
So ayahuasca itself is the bark of a tree, and it's also a vine. So it's two different ones. One is gives you the psychedelic effects, and the other is an MAO inhibitor. So if you didn't take that, you wouldn't get the psychedelic effects attached to it. And essentially what you're doing is taking both, you're putting them in a pot, you boil them with water, you boil them down, and then you'll kind of pour that in, filter out the impurities, put it in another pot. You just boil it down, I think like 4 times, something like that.
Okay.
And literally what you get is what's going to be served. So there's no manufacturing process whatsoever. It's simply those. And
Two natural items.
Yeah.
And is it done? Is it done by, like, I've heard shaman, or is that just kind of like a terminology that they use for the person that helps perform the ceremony?
Yeah, I mean, shaman's more of a healer, so to speak. So I mean, I know friends of mine that I've learned the process of boiling it down, who are not shaman.
Okay.
They'll prepare it for ceremony, and the amazing thing about it, I think there's 60,000 vines in the Amazon. Someone along the way told whoever it was that did it the first time to use these two vines in unison, because if you do one without the other, it's just inert, does nothing. So you can't tell me that wasn't God or the universe kind of reaching down, showing someone to use these two.
Yeah.
Think about the odds of that. We need a statistician to figure this out, but 60,000, you pick the two that you need.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling.
Interesting. So that's what ayahuasca is, and that's what you've primarily done. There's also ibogaine.
Yeah, ibogaine, which is the bark of a tree.
Okay.
From bark of a tree, they put it in a capsule form. I would like to journey with ibogaine. It's expensive. Right now, I don't think there's too many treatments that are available in the U.S. Most of the time, you have to go to Mexico. And for treatment, you're probably looking at about $6,000-$7,000 for a first responder, probably a little bit more for a civilian. I would like to. I like to see, I'd like to go through the experience to see what it's like.
So, like, you mentioned Schedule 1, that ayahuasca is Schedule 1. Like, how are we doing this?
You will get religious exemptions,
Okay.
and then you're able to serve sacraments.
Gotcha,
Same thing with psilocybin.
Okay.
Peyote, I think, is more of Native Americans. They're the only ones who are able to get those religious exemptions. But that's how it's done.
Okay. All right. So it's not a medical doctor able to write a prescription, because it's
No.
not obviously a prescription medication.
Yeah.
So it's part of and that's why it's considered ceremonial.
Exactly.
And people that administer it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's very sacred to me.
Yeah.
Like, it's not something you just do on a Friday night. Like,
Yeah.
there's sacred ceremonies attached to it. Music, dance, prayers. You sit there, you set intention about what you want to do. It's not this haphazard thing where you just kick it back and drinking beers, or tripping out. Like, even psilocybin, a lot of people use it for euphoric means, but the people I know, and I've journeyed with psilocybin twice, like, I'm taking hero doses, looking to go deep and explore. Like,
So hero doses being large amounts.
yeah, like, I've done 5 grams.
Okay.
So something like that, and both times for me, I was transported to my house as a child, and I was like literally in the house with my family, and I was kind of shown the origination of some of my behaviors, where they come from, why I act certain ways about things. I was back in my house, and I realized that my house was silent, punctuated with periodic, noise, whereas a lot of other people's were the opposite. It was, loud,
Always
with
noisy.
some silence. Mine was always silent, man. I was in one room, my sister was in her room, my mom was in the kitchen, my dad was in the den, and there were a lot of I was not as affectionate as I like to be, and I didn't really realize why, and I was back as a kid, and like there was barely any affection in the family at all.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm seeing like the origination of this behavior, and trying to make changes.
And I'm curious about it, and I feel like I can have this kind of a rabbit hole conversation with you. When you say transported, so it's a thing to me that I wonder, because our brains are such an amazing organ, a thing that is that there, that you already understood it, you just didn't know how to interpret it in your brain, and this is giving you the ability to do it? Or are you literally going up into another dimension and watching history? You understand what does that make sense to you?
Totally understand what you're saying.
So it's like, which is which? Like this, like, I mean, I'm talking into okay, maybe like pretending like I took a microdose, like, but I don't mind having those big, weird conversations, but I can't always have them with some people. But like, what do you think? Like, do you?
Good question. In terms of my psilocybin, to me, this is the way I look at it. You are shown things that you never saw before, and then you see things that you've seen over and over from a different perspective. So essentially, it's taking down the walls, and you're able to view things maybe from a step back, so to speak. That's been my experience with psilocybin. Ayahuasca, I don't know. It gets, when I've been transported back, I think that's all inside me. When I've had conversations with my father, like current day, he's deceased, it feels like you're transported to another place, another dimension, so to speak. Yeah. And when the universe is talking to me, like clearly talking to me, I feel like I'm transported elsewhere. A lot of people have feel a female presence. They call her Mother Ayahuasca. So, I called her Mother on my first journey, and it's as though I was looking at a big screen TV, and Mother was in the left-hand corner, and I was talking to her, and I was just asking her for things like, please, you need to help me release this anger, this rage. And it was like with the snap of a finger, like these things were just getting released. Like I could feel them not weighing on my soul anymore. It was nuts. And just everything that I was asked for was like granted. I remember I was crying, I had my arms open. I'm like, I need help, please. And things were just great. It felt like it was done, like one after the other. My father was brought to me in my journey, or she was bringing him, and he didn't show up. And I remember saying, fucking coward. Knew he wouldn't show. He couldn't talk about emotion. But all of a sudden, like the 50-something years of things between he and I were just gone. Like the emotional charge of things I had thought about that brought me anger, don't anymore.
Huh.
It's hard to describe if you've never experienced it, but it's so powerful.
Yeah. It's interesting. Because I mean, I don't not believe in alternate dimensions and being able, and that things can go across planes of dimensions and stuff. I don't not believe in that. And I want to believe in the ability that there's, things that are in this room, and I can associate it, and we can associate it to things that we can visually see right now, like say the like a Scrooge type mentality where Ebenezer Scrooge, or we'll go to Bill Murray's Scrooge, where he gets pulled into scenarios and people don't see him and he's watching life occur, and that, to me, that's a different dimension, that you're able to be there and be invisible to the people that are acting this out and stuff. I find all that mentality cool, and it's pop culture because it's in a movie, but I think there's a deeper way to look at those types of situations where a guy like Ebenezer Scrooge or Bill Murray in that movie is able to go back, look at something, how he treated people, what he did, and all that, but they're not saying, oh, Bill went on a ayahuasca journey or whatever. He just had something, he got hit in the head
Yeah.
quote, hit in the head and knocked out, and then he wakes up and he's now a benevolent person and he's changed his mentality. When realistically, you could look at it and go, this could be a description of somebody that's experienced this in their life.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, listen, if you think about it, I mean, quantum physics is incredible when you start getting into that subject and you start talking to people. Like, there's no such thing as time. It's a man-made concept. We made it up. So is there actually time?
Yeah.
Or are there parallel universes going on right now where you and I are in another universe having a conversation about something else or watching us talk right now?
Yeah.
Like, you could get deep, man. And I've never had these conversations before I started this journey. But, you know, when people start bringing these subjects up and you start thinking about it, you're like, holy shit. Never thought about that before. Like, there's a lot of things going on in this universe we have no idea about.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when they say use 10% of your brain.
I was just thinking the same train of thought. Yeah, exactly. And it is true, you know, and that and like I said, it's so powerful. It's such a powerful organ, and it's such a powerful thing that if we're only using like 10% of it is amazing to see what if you were able to use more of it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that we're on the verge of that we'll see in the next 50 years of people with, you know, gaining the ability to do that either through sometimes technology or some of these herbal medications or nature.
Or drugs that could be created in the future. I mean, it's amazing to me that, you know, we accept what we know, and that's the only thing we're kind of going on. But when you get exposed to other things, it really starts opening your mind up. And listen, our minds are so strong. And for you guys and girls who are going through it right now, your mind that put you in that depressive state that you may be in right now, unfortunately, is the same mind that can get you out of it and ascend you to heights of happiness that you never thought possible. It's that same mind. You need to change your perspective on what you're looking at. And you know, I live that life of gratitude now where I thank the universe for everything, good or bad, that it puts me through, every experience I have, you know, just sitting down and speaking to you today. Like, if you truly think about what you have and don't think about what you don't have and concentrate on what you have, it really changes, you know, the way you look at everything, the way you feel about things. And again, that same mindset that puts you in this negative loop is the same one that can put you in that positive one.
Do you ever think that there is a time where agencies or law enforcement will, because I'm pretty sure that, like, me as an active officer right now would not be able to, well, along those lines, is it a testable substance? Is it one of those things where, like, a drug test, it's going to pop positive on a drug test? You know, at least in that stigma portion. And then I guess the second part of that question is, do you think it'll ever become in law enforcement or even the military where it'll be a readily available service, you know?
I think so. To answer your question, the first one about popping, DMT occurs naturally in your body, and the effects of ayahuasca, I think, are out, period, in like 24 hours. So, you know, you're not going to be tested that quickly. I don't even think this is a test for DMT, number one, but if they were to create one, I don't think anyone's got to worry about it. You know, my advice to active guys and girls who are going to journey with its medicines: keep it to yourself. Don't say anything.
Yeah, keep it personal.
Exactly.
It's personal in nature, anyways. And then if you're nervous about a risk, you just take a week off.
Yeah,
take a week off. Do it on the first weekend, or you know, go do a journey and then take a week off. Just, you know, to see what sort of reaction. Not to speak negatively on it, but is there any sort of a negative reaction that people have, that you've either heard of or seen? You know, not to say it's everybody gets it, but
in terms of them journeying and having a negative reaction?
like a negative reaction. Like, is there? I've never heard of anything like hospitalizations or.
No, I mean, you know, there's been deaths associated with it, but I think when you look further, there's other things going on. You know, you're 100% not ever supposed to journey with ayahuasca if you're on SSRIs or antidepressants. Okay. And if you lie and you're currently on them, well, you're putting yourself at great risk. So there's been instances of that. You know, they are very few and far between. There is almost no risk associated with that. So, you know, do your research. Don't listen to me. But yeah, there is, and I know of none personally.
Okay.
That I've experienced, or people that I know that are in these spaces that have had experiences like that. There was one at Soul Quest Church was caused to close down after a wrongful death suit, but that was from an administration of another substance, and essentially they gave this guy so much water that he drowned. I forgot that the condition. There's a medical condition called where you drink so much water you essentially drown.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that's what happened to him. It had nothing to do with ayahuasca either. But, you know, there are risks associated. Just do your homework. The most risks are associated with taking substances that you should not be taking in conjunction with ayahuasca. And that second question that you'd had before I didn't answer was, do I think it's going to be available in military or law enforcement? Yeah, I think as studies come out and show how effective these medicines are, that eventually it's going to be incorporated. Now, I don't know if it'd be active duty guys that'd be able to take it, but I would say first off, retirees will be able to access some sort of treatment afterwards that are paid for.
Oh, okay. That
Through the
might be
military.
covered
Yeah.
through the VA. And actually, a Counterculture podcast affiliate, Dose Adjustment, they were actually talking about. I think he was saying that the Army is currently studying ayahuasca. It's either ayahuasca or ibogaine.
Yeah, psilocybin too.
Already studying it as far as a treatment through current methods. In addition to current methods of treatment for either active duty or veterans. So
There were numerous studies going on.
But who's to say how long that process takes?
The wheels of government.
Policy's got to get created.
Politics.
Somebody's got to figure out how to make money off of it before anybody can get that kind of help. Of course, we all know.
Exactly.
So there's a potential possibility where law enforcement and as I probably brought up, take some time off. Burn some of those vacation days. Probably one of the reasons why you're adding stress or having issues in your life is because you're not flexing those PTO hours out. Take some and use this as a potential opportunity.
Exactly.
You kind of walked through. You kind of mentioned it briefly through a ceremony, but like, what's it look like going into the ceremony and like preparation for it? Like. What do you do? Is there a certain diet that you have to think about before you go in, leading up to it? Is it like a colonoscopy? Like what do we?
Not as drastic, but yeah, essentially you're going to want to, in like the 2 weeks approaching it, you're going to want to eat lighter foods, and definitely the week of, the day of, you're going to be fasting. But, there's a list of medications, and it could be, stuff as benign as like Afrin nasal spray that supposedly affects the psychedelic effects that you will experience. So,
true. Yeah. You want to make sure like any half-life or any.
You want to maximize your experience. So you want to come off of these things that may dull it a little bit.
Okay.
So if you go to any website of any church, they're going to list all the medications. Number one, that you cannot be on, period.
Yeah.
And then number two, things that you want to come off of. Prior to, and then, diet-wise, lighter diets. A lot of, people go vegetarian for that week. Just you want to lay off the greasy, heavy stuff. If you think it's all about living like a healthy lifestyle. So if you incorporate that into your life, then I'm sure you're going to be fine. As far as you want to talk about ceremony itself, So, for instance, when we went to Soul Quest, so we got there on a Friday afternoon, probably about 3. Take a tour of the property. You'll usually have a meeting, and this is most facilities will have a meeting and kind of tell people what the rules of etiquette are, what you're going to possibly experience in your journey. Kind of just give you the ground rules and what may happen, just in case if it does, you're not worried about it. It's something you were told about and you were familiar. So then, once that's done, you'll typically sit around a ceremony. All that I've been to there's a fire in the middle, so that's kind of the focus, and everything's set around the fire. Fire is very symbolic, and it's beautiful as you go through your ceremony. You see a big roaring fire. There's usually music in the background as well. You'll have ceremony prayers. Sometimes there'll be ceremonial dances that'll be performed. The sacraments get blessed. Most of the time, we'll have a hape or a rape ceremony, and when hape or rape, both words are used interchangeably. It's ground up tobacco, and essentially, it's literally blowing up your nose. And I do not enjoy it whatsoever.
Yeah.
But when I don't do it, I do not have deep, deep journeys. So unfortunately, I have to do it to go deep, which I like doing. And it's essentially blowing up each nostril. You're gonna start. Your nose is gonna start running. It's almost like you're doing a dip. You cannot swallow that shit. So you spit, and it doesn't look pretty. You spit it into your garbage can. They give you like little garbage cans that you typically see in a bathroom. You'll purge in that later as well. And you're gonna get. I don't want to say wasted, but it's almost. Anyone who's ever done Copenhagen, you throw a coke in your mouth if you're not a regular user. You get that rush.
Yeah, you get a buzz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's essentially the same thing.
Oof.
Yeah.
I took a pouch one time back in the day at a country concert, and I was not a tobacco user, not a dipper or anything like that, and I'd already been drinking most of the morning, and I threw in a full pouch, so you're not even able to taper any amount, like a small pinch or anything. I put a full pouch in, and I was.
You didn't puke after that?
Nope, didn't even puke. I'm getting nauseous just thinking about the thought, and I ended up just laying in the field, just kind of like, oh God. But yeah, okay. So I know exactly. Yeah. I know exactly the feeling.
Exactly. So it's that feeling, and then that lasts about 10 minutes, and then you come along. They'll serve the ayahuasca. It's served in. I mean, it kind of looks like a shot glass. It's usually like ceramic cups. They're small. And, quick blessing. You throw it down. It does not taste good. Oh, moron. That stuff tastes like shit. So it's another reason why people wouldn't abuse it, just because the taste is like... Some people don't mind it too much. I think it's utterly disgusting. But that's it. And after that, you sit down. It usually takes about 30 to 45 minutes for the effects to start. And once it happens... Again, it varies from person to person, and it varies from ceremony to ceremony. So, my last one was the only time I've ever had like religious connotation. They have like an altar set up with a facilitator stand, and when I looked at that altar, everyone there looked like they were angels at like the last dinner, and then it was probably like 20 people in the entire space. It looked like there was 100 people in the space. The one thing is most people see geometric patterns, so you'd be looking up and you just see geometric patterns. Colors become like the most bright, vivid, dynamic colors you've ever seen in your life. And my journeys usually last about, 15, 20 minutes of that. And then all of a sudden, bam, it kind of kicks in. And, most of the time I'm kind of transported elsewhere. And you come in and out during the time. It's not like you're gone and you can't come out of it. So if you have to use the restroom, you get up, walk to the restroom. But you go deep, come back out, go deep, come back out. And I'm trying to think what else. There's so much to explain, but at the same point, you don't know what to talk about. That's probably like the biggest points I'm hitting on right now.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So, and then you just kind of work your way through that.
Yeah.
And maybe vomit occasionally or purge occasionally here and there.
Definitely gonna purge
during it. And so you had said that's like a Friday, but is that, and then you kind of go through it during the weekend or?
So this particular place, and most places do it the same. So you have a Friday night, Saturday. So typically it'll have like a ceremony like 9 to 1. And then Saturday nights, again, will be, ceremony, usually starting 7, 8, whenever the sun goes down. And, you drink it first, and then 2 hours in, you'll take a booster if you like a booster. So it'll typically, each journey, so your initial one will last about 2 hours, you start coming down a little bit, take a booster, another 2. So each journey is about 4 hours with a booster.
Yeah. Yeah. So any
None.
Hangover type thoughts?
Nothing at all. You're usually very, very tired, if not exhausted. Because, you're going through some deep emotional stuff most of the time. Yeah. So
physical, mental, spiritual.
Yeah. So you kind of feel beat up after the journeys. After the weekend, you're definitely shot. You need the next day or two. You're definitely going to be feeling it. You're going to need some rest and recuperation. But, nothing that's associated with like a hangover where you feel like garbage. It's just like this mental lethargy, if you will.
Yeah. So with your podcast, I mean, have you talked to people about this, or you've talked to people about all kinds of stuff with your podcast? Have you heard any, amazing revelation stories from other people other than yourself that you've been like, wow, this is, also amazing or anything like that?
Oh yeah, constantly. I mean, I remember we went to one ceremony. There was two guys. So you'll do integration as well. So typically on a weekend, if you're there, so Friday night you'll journey, Saturday. A lot of times places will have integration where you sit down and everyone talks about what brought them there, what they've been going through, how their journey was, and Sunday you usually kind of incorporate how you're going to incorporate that into your life going forward.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I'm sorry, I just forgot my train
Yeah,
of thought.
no, like with like stories from other people or
Yeah.
like,
So I remember this one in particular. It was at Soul Quest. It was a first responder vet only ceremony. Two different guys had said they were suicidal going there. No longer had any thoughts of suicide. A third guy said he can't remember how many years it's been since he was happy. He said he woke up happy that day.
wow.
Numerous people who said they would never be on their antidepressants again. I mean, you're talking life-changing stuff. Numerous times people were suicidal and were no longer. We had met a civilian female who said she had been depressed her entire life. She went to Soul Quest the year before. She drank that one weekend, and she never felt a day of depression after that. Like, it is the most powerful stories you've ever heard.
So and not to poo-poo that, but like, okay, so that's on that weekend. What do you hear, or is there not a reunion, but like maybe you see these people, or they're reoccurring people that you may come up with, or do you stay connected with them to know that those kind of things still ring true months after, years after? It might, it rings up, rings true with you.
Yeah.
But not to say, were you ever suicidal?
No, thank God I never had that ideology.
Yeah, yeah. And I know, and for some of you that are not in law enforcement that may not understand that, ask that question. You're not going to put it in somebody's brain. This is something I learned in hostage negotiation, and I'm just doing a quick segue. You're not going to put it in someone's brain that's never thought of it before and go, oh, that's what I should do.
Yeah.
You ask. Be upfront about it. Be deliberate about asking somebody about suicide.
It's not easy to do the first time. It's easier for you and I because we've done it.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, literally asking someone if they want to kill themselves is not an easy question. But
Yeah.
if there's some intuition or something, a voice inside your head is telling you that something's going on with that person, I guarantee you're right. Guarantee you're right.
And that person may need the other person to actually ask them that,
Exactly.
so that they can either be saved or work through it, or at least admit to somebody that might be a large burden that they're carrying.
Exactly.
That and don't freak out, and don't fucking call the cops immediately. Like, try to work with them. Please have a heart, and don't just call the cops every time.
Yeah.
Speaking from a cop, so do you like? So can you? I'm sitting here almost like stuttering. What would you do for like a wellness program if you could create a wellness program for something like the Academy? Because I know I spoke to another guy when you and I were both at the Bleeding Blue Incorporated mental health event 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
And there was a guy there, Rick Rocco, that works at our police academy. He's an awesome dude. I've known him my whole career. And he talked about how he's a defensive tactics instructor. And really, the only time that we talk to these, I'll call them kids, about mental health is maybe a 10-hour block in part of their defensive tactics training. Like, okay, yes, it is part of defense. It's your defense against harming yourself or harming others or, whatever. But could you ever had any thoughts of like, what if you could create a curriculum that an academy would put forward that would be more than just a 10-hour or like a 2-hour block, something more that an academy could train, or even a department for mental health for like law enforcement or just first responders in general?
Yeah, I mean, if I was doing a block, I would incorporate trauma psychologists coming in, speaking to the men and women. In terms of me giving advice, I would say number one, you need to have structure in your life. If you're going through it, don't be sitting here watching TV till 3, 4 in the morning, eating shitty on your couch, waking up at noon. You know, if you're still active, going to work 2 hours later, and then that's the entirety of your life. You need to have structure. You need to have physical exercise. Mental and physical health go hand in hand. Without one, it's like the yin and yang, and you're just not going to be in unison. Healthy diet, and these things sound like nothing, but they make huge differences in your life. Structure, exercise, healthy diet, talking to people. One huge thing we do is isolate as a community. Like you hear, it's such a common theme. Everyone that goes through it isolates. You need social interaction. Stop that isolating, because it's doing nothing but having you focus more on those problems that you're thinking about.
Yeah, dwelling. Yeah.
And if you're having those problems, the solution could be as simple as just speaking to someone. Speaking to your brother. It doesn't have to be a psychologist or even a peer specialist. I read a study recently that said that 60% of people felt like their problems were essentially solved just by speaking to someone. Not any type of professional, just getting it off their chest.
Yeah.
I mean, thinking about it, you're carrying something, you tell someone, it's like a weight was lifted off you. And that simple act of just talking about it, and if you're the one getting spoken to, pay attention to what this guy or girl is telling you. Again, you don't have to be that specialist, but if you sit there, there's a term called limbic resonance, and essentially that's listening deeply so that you're essentially on the same wavelength, if you will, with someone. They can feel it, that you're actually caring and you're listening. You are listening, and you're able to offer them more advice, as opposed to just kind of blowing them off as they're speaking to you. And, you listen with half an ear. Take serious. If that guy or girl is talking to you in confidence, man, that's not easy to do.
Yeah, I see that as like I tell people, and like as if it's a special power or whatever. But we hear people say like, oh, they're an empath. Like I am an empath, where I absorb in my thoughts. I absorb some of the pain or some of the thoughts that people are putting out when I'm in that, like you're saying, the limbic like conversation. That if I'm truly tuned in, I'm absorbing it fully, and that's where sometimes it causes a problem, but that's where sometimes I can really relate to the person better. It's not just being, it's part of being empathetic. You're listening to it and you're feeling it, and then like I almost feel like sometimes I feel it even harder, and I pull it in, and I can almost get on what their level is. But a lot of people, we don't listen to exactly where somebody's coming from or what they're thinking about. We use prejudgments about them, the way they look, the way they act. We don't actually think about, where this topic is coming from or where this, conversation is. And I say that to my wife a lot of times, just as a joke, but it really, who hurt you? Like you're angry about this, but somebody hurt you here, either if it was in the last 24 hours or if you're pulling something from your past, or if you just got yelled at by your boss, but you're taking it out on me. Like let's work through all of this, and then I'm feeling all that. So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And don't be so quick to inject advice. Sometimes they just want to talk.
Yeah.
Don't feel like you have to give your opinion. Just kind of feel the room, have some awareness, let them get it off their chest, and then talk to them like, hey, do you want answers from me? Because I'll tell you what I feel. If not, they may be like, nah, I just want to talk to you about it. Cool, let it go.
Yeah.
That's it. May be as simple as that, and it just solved their problem.
Yeah. And we have to remember that too as police officers, because we're problem solvers, we're triagers, we're sent there on a mission, which is what we believe is to fix your problem and then get out of there, because we got to go fix somebody else's problem. But in that, just what you said, you got to sometimes just let them vent. And sometimes for me, my biggest struggle is that I'm trying not to write a police report on something, because I get sick and tired of writing police reports. So sometimes if you just let people talk and you're just kind of like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
You have any more questions? No? Okay. All right. Well, have a good day.
Literally.
And not be like, all right, well, let me write this down in a police report for you.
Exactly.
Like that may not be what they needed. They didn't need a police report, even though dispatch may have said wants to report this. They've reported it, but they needed to hear from a nice person, someone with a smile, they're just looking for sometimes free legal advice is what they're looking for, mostly all the time. But they just want to vent to somebody that's not a family member, not someone that's looking down on them because they've known all their trials and tribulations or something, so we all gotta open our ears, like you said before, 2 ears, one mouth,
Exactly.
just listen more and talk less.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right, so those were interesting points for Academy stuff, because I think we barely got touched on when I was in the Academy.
Yeah, me too.
Some of those things, and I watched like Law and Order and stuff, and I hear them talk about choir practice, going to the bar, and all that, but that's not necessarily the great way to do it.
No, that's another good point. Like, don't sit there dulling your issues with substances, and expand your circle. I always consciously did not only hang out with cops, man.
Yeah.
I did not want to hear about that shit 24/7.
Yep.
Did not want to talk about that shit 24/7. It gets old, and most of it is negativity. Let's be real.
Right.
Not too many positive things you're talking about in our careers, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
talk to civilians. What's funny too is sometimes you'll be talking to civilians and be recounting a story, and they're just looking at you. As you're telling the story, you can see them like eyes opening more and more, kind of recalling back.
Yeah.
Stop. Sometimes it's good. Kind of keep shit to yourself, because the stuff we see and we do is not normal. So when you tell them it to normal people, they're like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. I've always maintained different friend groups. Like, I had a big soccer thing that I did for a while. A lot of friends that non-cops, and then I've got, like I told you before, my Star Wars group that I hung out with. They were all a lot of nerds and stuff, and some of them are cops, and most of them are amazing freaking people and fun people of all walks of life. And so that's fun, and just associating with all different people, and because you can't continue, like you said, to just keep going on that same loop. Let's take a quick break. I want to look at one of these cameras real quick, and then we'll be right back. And I want to, at least talk about your podcast and where they can find you and stuff like that. So We'll be right back.
So that's why I built InkMD, to address a niche, a very real need for medical grade wound care for real wounds. Tattoos are real wounds. I don't understand why we continue to treat them differently. Nobody's bridged that gap yet. We're talking about relatively superficial trauma to the skin. The quicker it heals, the better. Especially with tattoos, because the amount of ink that's retained in your skin is dependent on that healing process. Real science, real medicine, with a very ancient and very personal art form.
Jump over inkmd.com and use DSP15 when you want to make a purchase. All right, so we're back. So looking back at 5 years into your policing career, would you have ever believed where you are now? Working through your journeys through plant-based medicine and stuff, and then also hosting Resilient Warrior Nation podcast and guiding others through transformations as well. Would you have thought of that at year 5?
Never. I wouldn't have thought about this 18 months ago. It literally came out of nowhere. I had no intention of entering the space.
For podcasting.
Yeah. I should say that during my first journey, so that was March 1st of 2024, 3 weeks before, 2 co-workers and friends had committed suicide a week apart. The sergeant ended up killing himself in the precinct locker room. So as I'm coming out of the first journey, literally the universe was giving me these messages about this becoming my life's pursuit. And, I think it had a lot to do with that. They weren't in my journey, but I think that was part of it. And again, readily accepted. Wasn't sure how I was going to go about it.
Yeah.
But never, ever could I have predicted this.
Yeah.
Ever.
So pretty cool. So where's everybody? I was just looking at the watch. I'm like, oh man, we're going to run up to a hard wall. So where can people listen to this and find your podcast and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so right now I'm on YouTube, the Resilient Warrior Nation podcast.
Yeah.
I need to start throwing episodes on the audio-only platforms.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how many people... I'm a visual guy, so I watch all my podcasts.
Oh, I'm a listener.
Oh, yeah. So I didn't realize how many people are solely listeners, so I need to throw it on those other
platforms.
platforms.
I'll work with you on that and tell you how to get that done.
Nice.
It's pretty easy.
All right, good.
So YouTube, so Resilient Warrior Nation.
Yes.
So they can check that.
Podcast on YouTube. Yep.
That stuff will be, I'll put that in the description on all the platforms and everything. And then we'll be collabing on Instagram and stuff. So I'll show that, you know, and then so you're leveling up and you're getting bigger guests and stuff.
Yeah.
It's fun.
It's I don't know. I can't describe the feeling, you know. I say this and Taylor admonishes me, but I'm like, who the fuck am I? I'm just some dude. And he's like, no, you're the guy that went through all this that can now speak to these guys and girls. And, you know, that's the way I look at it. Like, I get imposter syndrome every now and then, but I'm not trying to be anyone other than myself. I'm not trying to give anything other than my genuine journey.
Yeah.
And, you know, hopefully that helps, inspires others. That's what I do in my podcast. I bring on ordinary people, I say, that have done extraordinary things with their lives in the hopes that these guys and girls who are going through it identify with them and they get inspired and get hope that they too can heal, because everyone that I bring on has gone through it themselves. You know, I just had, I'm up to probably like my 6th SEAL, Green Berets, fighter pilots, you know, cops, firemen.
Wow.
I just interviewed a 30-year-old who became a quadriplegic at 15 years old last week. Such an inspiring story. 15 years old, this kid just broke his neck in the hospital. He's telling his father that he wants he doesn't want to hear any negativity, and he's going to lead his life in a positive manner.
Wow.
It's a 15-year-old kid.
Wow.
I'm like, brother, I love it, you know, so inspirational. And I just want to show people you can heal. You know, I've done it. There's tons of others. Like, we go through this thing and we think that we're the only one. No one else understands. I promise you, unfortunately, there are thousands that are going through it right now. We think that everyone else has it figured out. And as David Goggins says, everyone is fucked up.
Yeah.
You know, some people hide it better than others. People will let you see what they want you to see of them.
Yeah.
Don't think anyone's got to figure it out. Man, we're all going through this fucking life. It's going to throw trauma, and it's going to throw things into your life that you don't anticipate. You know what? When it knocks you to the ground, just get up. One foot in front of the other. I was going through it recently last month. It was coming up the anniversary of my mom's 1-year anniversary of her death. And like I said, we were estranged. And I hadn't really processed her death. I dealt with it with anger last year. And I was going through it. But I was telling myself, like, I want to look back and be proud of the way I go through this. So I didn't want to go to gym. My ass was in the gym every day. You know, I wanted to kind of be by myself. No, I was out with friends. You know, I was doing things. I was letting myself feel the pain, because you have to feel the pain.
Yeah.
That's the only way to heal. You know, I was letting myself be vulnerable. And, you know, in thinking and the way I spoke about what I was going through. And, you know, it wasn't fuck this, fuck that. It was, no, feel the pain. Like, talk about your feelings. Talk about how, you know, I didn't get what I thought I needed as a young child. Like, I could be, you know, 50-something years old. I was talking to DJ Shipley, man, one of the fiercest warriors in the world. Like,
Right.
You know, we're still these little boys inside who didn't get what we thought we needed during our formative years. We still need to heal from that trauma that we suffered as young boys, you know? So don't dismiss anything you've been through, and don't compare yours to others. Just because someone went through something that is the worst thing you ever heard, don't think that yours could just be dismissed simply because it wasn't to that level. No, it's not the way trauma and life work. You know?
So true. All right, man. Well, dude, it was awesome, and time flew by. I didn't even realize how long we've been talking for.
It's a day and a
so
half.
yeah, I appreciate you. So thank you very much, Michael. And
thanks for having me, Joseph.
And we'll catch you on the next one. So all right, everybody, have a good one.
Calling all units. Donut Shop has a fresh dozen. Go ahead and take a 1040.